Hello again. Welcome back to the Trek Way. Mr. Grey over
Howdy.
here. Or he's over here. I think he's over
Or up
here.
there.
He's somewhere. He's somewhere about here. You hear him, mind. Thanks for coming along, Grey. We are here for season 3, episode 8 of Star Trek Picard, titled Surrender. The usual unique breakdown of the episode and our sides going in massive tangents and being petty about nitty gritty things. I think that's more me than Grey. But
We all get a little nitty gritty, but it's only nitty gritty.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's like the nitty gritty bothered us in other Star Trek shows because they were a bit lame and it
Yeah.
ruined the episode a bit more. But these little nitty gritty things don't ruin it because they've done such a good job, you know. So we'll crack on here as usual. Just jump in where you need to, Grey. All terms at the end, save the people a little bit. Now we saw the teaser trailer from Grey's Corner, now 18 and titled Corner, about several of the Titan crew getting mowed down when they're trying to run away from Barrick's goon. And we agreed, Grey, did we not, that was maybe edging on the side of maybe a wee bit too dark? You still stand by that?
Yeah, I mean, now that I've kind of seen it in the episode for real, I can come back on that a little, but it was still kind of dark. But it's not enough to. It's not enough to like trash the episode, no. But it would have been probably better if they just trapped him in there, let's say, and started to take their air away or whatever, so you didn't really get a slaughter.
Well, I think they were. Don't see it for sure, but I think they were mowed down. The ones from that teaser trailer last week, I think, are pretty much dead because fires get off. Yeah, and that's in cold blood, which is wrong. But the reason I think it's a bit dark is because Vadik is getting a kick out of it. She's like a conductor at an orchestra. She's giving it all this, and
she's a sadist. So she's getting into it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Hey, look, we were a bit hesitant. How good is Amanda Plummer going to be as a bad guy? Grey wasn't sure what to expect, if I recall, and I'm like, from what I know she's done in the past in her Old Man. Now, just to say she's going to be the same as her Old Man, but she has a chip off the old block. She plays a messed up, very smart, intelligent bad guy, and I think she's done a great job out of it. She's like, I've taken away your ears, and I've taken away the road in front of you, locking them in, and then she's threatening to like pull the oxygen and the gravity from the rest of the ship as well. She's got them.
Well, that whole part was very reminiscent of her dad, Christopher Plummer, in Star Trek 6, right? Where he's very poetic and he reads the classics.
I havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
Exactly. So she starts going into that same mode a little bit. You could tell, and I was like, okay, I see it.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah, so she's getting off in it. She's twisted, which I absolutely love because maybe I'm a bit messed up in my head as well. Who knows? I should speak to a counsellor, Grey.
Are you a changeling?
Christ, you need to ask me questions. That's how it works.
You're gonna start melting right on camera.
We can't afford the VFX. So she now has full control of the ship, which is it was last week's episode, and I touch on it again later on. She got the command code from Riker because of Troi was there, and he had to do what he had to do. There is another moment where Jack goes all red eye, as I'm calling it again, and he can see what his attackers see. He's seeing the gunning down of people. He's seeing what's going on in the bridge, and it's obvious and apparent at this stage that Vadik really wants Jack. Like she's definitely wanting him. Otherwise, she'll kill the crew. It's like an ultimatum. Surprise! That the classical hostage Trek episode, which we've seen before, no doubt we'll see again. And I say before, Grey noted it was a little bit dark, this kind of scene in general, but not too bad. We're bordering on what was okay and what was not. So that's out.
Yeah, I mean, if I think if it was up to us, we probably would have pulled back the reins on that just a little bit more. But it's okay.
Yeah,
it's not terrible.
I would have closed the doors and not showed let you hear the mowing down of them. so that it's maybe obvious what might happen, but you don't see or hear anything. Not that you see them visibly getting mowed down because the door closes, but you know what's happening. Sure. Now, we catch up with Riker now finally because Gray was saying we hadn't seen him much recently, and I was like, it's fine. Taking a little chill pill. He'll be back, and yes, he is back a decent amount in this episode. Both Riker and Troi are on the Shrike, and it seems like not too many people are actually on board, which ends up being one of their downfalls later on. But Riker's been a bit of a baby, a bit of a ponce, because he's got a wee cut in his head, and his missus is tending to him, and typical little scratch there.
It hurts.
Riker. It hurts. Be gentle, kiss it better. A change.
Or do a little more, it'd be even better. But
well, that's what the After Darks Star Trek.
That's right.
All about, you know.
Ooh, that's interesting. You start a new show, Star Trek After Dark.
Like after dark, like Red District Dark. It turns out, Gray, no surprise. I hadn't thought of this, but it's not really a surprise. A changeling version of Riker, who I've spelt with an L and instead of an I, came to visit Troi at their home, which I'm like, why didn't I think of that? This is a no-brainer. But she can't read changelings, which is good because it'd be too obvious. It should be too powerful. Right. But she says there's something off of them, and she's joking that Riker's asking what was he like, and she's like, good in bed, bad at pizza. To which Riker says, just like me. Then I get a little chuckle out of that, Gray. I don't know about you. This is when we use humor at the right times. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. And I think for some people that see that and think it was too much humor, I added a little thing in the notes, and it's common when people are faced with a death situation or something of that nature that they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to sit there and just totally go bonkers or whatever, or they're going to deflect as much as they can, and
or go numb and not do anything.
Or go numb. So and some people deflect with humor, and this is what they're doing. They're basically dealing with it in a humorous manner because they know they might die. So that's how they handled it. So it's not unusual. It's not like it couldn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, and it's a good point that Gray adds on to the end of this. This is why this works, because sometimes I'll miss things, sometimes Gray will add things. And don't get me wrong, there's one or two things that Gray's added in later on that, for those that watching or listening, think, why didn't you mention that, Trevor? Like, if I mentioned every last thing,
oh yeah,
this would be a couple hours long at least. So I put down what I think is important and relevant, and then Ray will put in what he thinks is important and relevant if I've not included it. And it's called teamwork.
And on top of that, if you really want to hear Easter eggs, there's plenty of people out there that go like, "There's 583 Easter eggs in this episode. Let's count them down."
Yeah,
whoa.
That's not us. We go over a generalization of the episodes, like the key points, and then break them down, and then give our opinions on it and go off in like tangents. It's kind of unique. I don't see a lot of our version of reviews online, Grace.
No, I mean, I like it. I like the attention to detail, but when you start getting to the thing, and we see a piece of dust on the left side, which wasn't there because before it was on the right side.
Yeah, there's people like that. What are they called? Like when they review, there's a term or phrase for that, isn't there? Where people analyze things out of place in movies. Anal.
Way too
Get
anal.
a life. Yeah, we just offended God knows how many YouTubers. But he's right. He is right. Anywho. See, we're sidetracking already.
Yeah.
I like this little bit. Varix has confirmed that the captain's chair on the Titan is comfy and they must take it with them. Priorities: Jack and the chair. Jack in the chair taken away. Brucey
That's
bonus.
right. Hey.
So who would have thought that a Starfleet regulation captain's chair is going to be more comfort than the big fancy important flash one on the Shrike? There you go. Jack has the plan to use the good old red eye trick again. Surprise, yawn. It's been dragging on for far too long, this bloody thing with Jack, but it is what it is. It's part of the story.
Yep, stretching it out.
Damn right they are, Gray. He, at this stage, I'm not sure he can just turn this on and off, right? Because you haven't seen any clear evidence of that, I don't think. But his plan here at this stage is...
Well, this is the first time we do see it, but
no,
we didn't.
Yeah, before I meant, sorry.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously he could have added in something like, I think I've got the hang of it now. little tiny line, just a very small thing, but he didn't say that. Um, and his plans to take over control of an officer on the bridge. Because one thing you heard before with Troi and Riker was that, he gave the code to the Titan to get into the system, but he knows there's an override code. And if he knew anything about Jean-Luc, he'll be there with a dastardly plan to take back control. The scene after, I thought was going to come up with him, like, up certain creek without a paddle, but it wasn't. His plan does reenact at this stage now, but the problem is you need to enter it into the bridge, which I think's it's a storytelling plot. You should be able to enter that bloody anywhere in the ship, if you ask me, but you know. And this override code will be entered by an officer controlled by Jack, and then he'll take back control. Now, I love this, Gray, because like one of the officers is literally standing like this, like kind of this, standing on side, and he typing in the code slowly, try not give away his position.
What he's doing, right?
And he's about to hit confirm or override, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Vadik notices and stops him. I thought he was going to pull it off, Gray. Did you think he was going to get that code in?
I thought, yeah, I did, and I think that's part of why we really appreciate the writing in the show, because typically you're going to be, oh, okay, that makes sense. He's going to do it, but they keep you off guard, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen that way, and you're like, oh crap! So what the hell are they going to do now? And I like that. If you can make the writing to keep you guessing, then you got something good. You got the writers got you by what, and
the short and curlies. Yep. Exactly. And it is cracking writing. I don't want to know how an episode is going to unwind in front of me all the time. I like to be surprised from time to time. But there is more brilliant writing here, because she's got this guy on the deck. She's threatened to kill him unless Jack comes up. And then she picks another officer and what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And then just as you think she's going to kill this officer, she actually kills the officer standing right beside her.
Yeah. You're like, that's what you call it, a very sadistic villain. They're torturing you by not letting you know who they're going to kill, and they kill somebody totally,
I get vibes of for those that watch The Walking Dead, when, spoiler alert, it's been several seasons since this happened, where Negan smashes in Glenn's skull with a baseball bat because he's going about going eeny, meeny, miny, moan. You just don't know. So she is a little bit like Negan actually in this episode. She's a bit sick and sadistic. I like it.
Yep.
And so she kills one, and she's about to threaten to kill the other one. But thankfully, she only kills the one, doesn't she? Great at this stage, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, thank God, because ask her. But she said, then she doesn't say about time. She says, we could keep doing this all day, kind of thing. Get your ass up to the bridge, So fair enough. We have a little heart-to-heart between Riker and Troi. Just talking about, when they lost their child, and like I think Riker was kind of, I didn't know this, he was a bit numb partly because of Troi. Like she was getting in and not erasing his memories, but kind of almost like trying to soften them and take away a bit of the pain. And he's like, why did you do that? Like, that's the only thing I had. She's like, I'm trying to help you, and blah, blah. It was.
Well, she innocently wanted to help him because he loves him and didn't want him to suffer, without realizing the fact that you had to go through the grief. And she even mentioned, as a counselor, I'm supposed to know to let you go through the grief. You should have known better.
Very good point, Gray. Yeah.
But but she cared, so it's hard, But that was interesting how they came out. So now you kind of understand a little bit of what they went through that they talked about, but you didn't really know exactly.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was good character development, which is a lot of what they've been doing in the series. You think you know everything about the cast, and they have little things that they bring up here and there about different members of the cast, which is cool. That makes them human. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. Hit the nail on the head, my friend. So it is kind of sweet, and it turns out when they're trying to reconcile the differences that none of them like the bloody planet that they were on. I can't remember what they called that. I thought I heard. I wasn't sure. I heard the name, but I mean,
I forgot what it was too. I just know that they were going there because they thought everybody liked to go there, and they bring the kids there or whatever, and end up finding out that no, they actually hated it, but they never told each other. That was cute. It's funny, like, oh, you didn't like it either.
Let's get back to Earth, our bloody home planet. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this stage here, one of the Changeling guards comes to get, I think it's Troi. Riker's not very clear. He's coming to get them anyway. And then all of a sudden he gets a blade through his chest, Gray. And it's our man, it's our favourite Klingon, Worf. He's back with a heavy touch of the old classic Klingon music, which I'm not going to complain about. It was great to see him back, and we loved the music, didn't we?
The music drops are perfect. They do it all the time. They've been doing it through the whole series. It's all great.
It's
all great.
They do it at the right times as well, which is perfect. They're just using it at the right times, not too much, not too little. Brilliant. They're having a little chat, the three of them, and it seems like Worf was hitting on Troi with some of the things he's saying, but it's in a kind of Worf way. It's not him really hitting on her. To which you just see Riker's face, Gray, and it's absolutely priceless. Like, I'm telling you, like Frakes has got this.
What's going on?
Yeah, Frakes has got this down to a T, man, and he says, "Is this a rescue mission or the continuation of the torture?" And I'm just pissing myself laughing. That's a nice scene. There you go. And you got a little bit you wanted to comment about this, Gray, as well.
Yeah, what I was saying is all through the series, but in particular, to use this as an example, when I saw the blade go through his chest, and then all of a sudden I saw Worf, and then all of a sudden I heard the music, I can't help but get very teary-eyed, but in a happy way, because I've been invested in these characters since way back to TOS, and when TNG came around, I was freaking nuts
TOS,
when TNG came out. TOS original series.
Yeah, but none of them were in the TOS, mate. What?
No. But what I'm saying is, I'm so vested in my characters. I'm extremely vested in the TOS, extremely vested in TNG. Others too. But the point is that all of us that really like Star Trek are extremely vested in their characters. This is part of what we like, part of what we are. And if it's done right and well, you can't help it. So I start getting emotional when I see Worf there, and I see other things like the tune to Voyager when Seven sees her ship. I mean, when you get those feelings emotional, then you know that somebody's doing something right, and this is what we should have had all that time. And now it's great to have great Star Trek back with the characters that we love and well written and feel that way all over again. I mean, it's kind of like when you were younger, and you probably experienced this, maybe not as much as I did, but as well. When a movie came out or something, I couldn't wait for the next movie. I was going bonkers when the next movie would come out, and the next movie, and the next movie. And because I never wanted it to end. And when the movie was over, I would usually go back and see the movie again because, again, I don't want it to end. That's why I was so thrilled with that one episode that I really liked on Below Decks when they went back to visit Deep Space Nine, which I rated a 10 out of 10 because the whole episode was so unlike a typical Below Decks episode, and so it was just like, wow, this is like Deep Space Nine never ended. That's the kind of stuff that's good stuff.
Yeah,
and we're getting it in spades in this series, and that just makes me like super happy.
I kind of get those feelings when, well, I mean, I don't all TNG first time round. I mean, it came out in the late 80s, and I was still pretty young, but I do recall the later seasons, and then I did watch a lot of this stuff back, so I do like them, but my first true love with Trek was probably Voyager. And so when I had the 79 bit with, when I saw the Voyager, and then Jack is just like, oh, she's a beauty. And I'm like, damn straight, my son. Not even my favourite starship. I think I had it down as like fourth or something, actually. 3 or 4, something like that. But it's still unique and very, and it's been updated slightly just for modern CGI. But and I saw.
And by the way, if you want to know more about the video of the starships, look down there. And
yeah.
That's videos.
I'll link it. And then you see her emotional in her face, Seven, and then you get the Voyager music, and I was at proper Voyager. So yeah, I totally relate, mate.
By the way, slightly off the subject, we only have 2 more episodes for Janeway to appear. She's got to appear. If she doesn't appear in the next 2 episodes, I am going to be not a happy camper about that.
What, they've teased it so bloody much. Gray's right. He's hitting the nail on the head again. Not right,
It's a minimum of 3 times she's been mentioned, maybe 4. And come on, you can't name drop that many times and tell me you're not gonna at least have her show up somewhere. She's got to, man.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
So, right, Gray's right that they've had these kind of classic moments and things for the fans all the way through this, but you can do that and serve new viewers and watchers of Trek at the same time. You can do both. It is possible with good enough
Sure.
writing, and that's kind of what they're doing at the moment. Would it help if new people would watch older Trek like TNG before going? Sure, but it wouldn't spoil the fun of it. So Terry,
True.
well done, mate.
Look, good
Um,
Star Trek is good Star Trek, whether it's the original TNG, Voyager, or anything else.
yep,
If
yep,
it's good, it's good, and that's why you feel like that because it's almost like it's part of what you own or whatever, like your favorite cars.
yeah, yeah.
I
That's
mean,
genius, Gray. If it's
it's
good,
like
it's
don't mess
good.
with my Trek.
Good, it's good, honey.
Yeah,
What else could
yeah.
it be if
Right.
it's good? Um, anyway,
Oh, it
right.
could be
So
excellent.
one of our one of our classic tangents, man. We it was kind of almost warping the next system tangent there, but anyhow, we're back in the Sol system. I'm back on the Titan. They have no surprise. They have a plan to use data lore or hybrid thing.
Before
Um,
soon, whatever.
Soon, like he's put everything in there, like 4 personalities in there, to take back control of the ship because they need someone to enter to break the command. So they've got an override code which they can use, or they can brute force it. But these ships with the state of the art computer systems, you can't do it quickly. Like I think Sydney LaForge mentions, if I had a year to do it, I could make a code. My father could do it in a month, but we're no way we're doing it this quick. We need
Right.
something with sheer processing power that nobody's got. Data's got it, of course. So
Right.
they're going to plug them back in, and then the problem is though, there's that partition between lore and data. Now there is a bit of B4 in there, there's a bit of Sung in there, but the two predominant partitions, if you know anything about hard drive, certainly back in the day, you had many partitions, and certain
Yep.
things could live in them. You could have bad partitions, good partitions. You could argue here there's one good partition and one bad partition, Gray, with lore and data, and they kind of know that. They don't really say it as much or it's say it in as many words, but they kind of know that it's data's up is maybe not going to be able to do this despite his best interest because of who Lore is and what he's about and
Mhm.
dominating and whatnot. And at this stage, when you go into their kind of minds, if you like, you know what I mean? It's what they perceive
Well,
as a mind and
basically,
a consciousness.
yeah.
You see a visible force field between the two of them, between Lore and Data, and Lore being smug and I'm going to take over, brother, and I'm the one, blah blah blah. This kind of thing, and they don't think Data will be able to do this as well, the guys, because he doesn't take lives willy nilly. He won't just kill out of cold blood to sort of save himself. He only does it if he has to, and that's why maybe they don't think he'll do it. But not all is as it seems, Gray. At this stage, Data kind of keeps pulling trinkets out of thin air from his past, like mementos and whatnot, Easter eggs as we call them. And there's several of them. There's between the
Right.
two of us, we'll rattle off some. We've got the pipe and the hat from the Sherlock Holmes episodes when he was in his holodeck adventures on TNG.
Mhm.
You see a little like memorial thing, a little plaque thing that a whole picture of Tasha Yar pops up. They were very
Yeah.
close. And Gray, I didn't forget this one. I just didn't add it in. But there was another little cool Easter egg that he has at the end, which is really, really helpful that we spot. Pun intended.
Yes, he has his cat Spot, which becomes very critical in terms of what happens next between Data and Lore. So the cat really kind of tops it off, so to
Yeah,
speak. And Data said that these were his actual memories,
yeah,
and what he felt like trying to be human and experience the way his journey to being as human as he could. And this is all part of who he was and how he grew up, so to
yeah.
speak.
Yeah, it's a nice moment. It's just really well done. But they don't give you the whole scene in one go. Like they never give it a conclusion. They're always
Right.
jumping
Of course
back
not.
and forth to teach, you know. So we do get back to that for sure. We then see on the Shrike Picard's dead body, um, and you know, weirdly at peace. You know, strange, but like really, really at peace. Like it turns out they cut out parts of his brain, the parts where he had the disease before. We don't know why. They're studying it for some reason, hence why they took his remains. Number one theft of Daystrom Station.
Mm.
Um, Jack at this point has kind of tried to buy them time while Data and Lore do their long between them. And Jack's going to kill some time in the bridge, so he appears to be surrendering himself. And he has this little device in his hand that kind of looks like a bomb. He's, Vadic's like, "You're not going to kill all your pals." And he's like, "Well, ideally, I don't kind of want to, but it'll kill you, so, and me. Well, it might not kill her. That's the point, actually, because changelings,
Right.
what they're like, it
Right.
might not kill them, but it'll certainly kill Jack, and then she's up Shit Creek with Arrow, isn't it?
Yep. She have to go
And
back to the floating head, McFloaty.
McFloaty,
She doesn't want to do that.
you do not want to piss off Floaty McFloatface, because for all we know, that kid, well, I don't know what it is, but anyway. So yeah, he's killing time nicely at this stage here. In other events, it doesn't look so good for Data as Lore looks like he's well and truly taken over. There's see him kind of fading out of a little bit, and he's asking what's going on. And at this stage here, you're thinking not looking good for him. Did you think Data was gone at this stage, Gray?
Again, they keep you thinking because I thought, okay, but then as I saw him handing the trinkets over and over and over back to Laura every time, it started to click with me. All of a sudden, I go, oh, okay, I start getting the idea of what's I think is going to happen, and
Yeah,
more or less, it did go down the way I thought.
which,
So
which we'll
because it
get
just
to.
was too easy. It was too easy that he was just handing them over a little bit too
Yeah,
easily, like
yeah,
like he's giving up.
yeah. I think I mentioned it at one point. I kind of think I know what's going on as well, and it's pretty smart. But we get to that because they're going back and forth, so we certainly get to that in a moment.
Right.
Um, it was a kind of compromise there. Jack was like, "You've got me now, so would you let the bridge crew live?" And I wasn't sure if Vadik would do this or not, but she does. She's like, I've got what I want, so yeah, lock them in the whatever they're calling that bridge meeting room thing they've got at the back that they use a lot. So
Yeah. Probably the
off they
captain's
go.
room.
What
Yeah.
was say that again, Gray?
It's probably the captain's quarters or captain's. You know how they
Yeah,
have the ready room,
something like
right?
that,
On TNG, it
equivalent.
was the ready room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So off they pop there, but Seven stays with Jack, and at the time you're like, why? But like as I mentioned here, it's kind of unclear why she does this. But if you want anyone in your corner, you're wanting Seven in your corner 'cause she can hold her own. So, so just the two of them at this stage here, um, and the weird thing here for me, as we mentioned before, was Gray and I saw what was possibly happening between Data and Lore, and all these trinkets are getting handed over one after the other. It's quite a few of them, and we're thinking we'll get to it in a moment what happens later on. But I think Gray and I were basically right. What we thought was probably happened. He's not stupid. Um, but that last thing he hands is Spot, his cat, and that's when Lore's like, "Hi." He's like, "You wanted to know what it's like to be me. This is me. These are important things." Blah de blah de blah. And then he gives him Spot, and Glor kind of gladly takes Spot. He doesn't like throw him away or try to kill him. He's like,
Right.
"All right, I'll take him, whatever." And then Data pops out of existence. He kind of goes, and the hemispheres of the brain, because it was kind of red on one side and blue on the other, and it's starting to become more and more red until it's all red, and you're like, oh. And it's not going to be like that, but still initially you're like, oh shit. Geordie's emotional.
Even
They're all emotional.
even if you don't know though, you still don't. In other words, you see it all red, and you go like, "Well, there's got to be a way around it." But the good thing is that you don't know what the way around is, and that's a good writing. We're sitting there waiting to find out. wait, now how's this going to resolve itself? I don't get it.
Yeah. And something we both want to bring up here that we both mentioned here is that's him now, in theory, on paper, dead for the third bloody time. I feel sorry for the guys with him. I especially feel so sorry for Picard, and even more so for Geordie, his best friend, because they've had to see him die 3 times now. And grey notes here, we shouldn't blame Terry for this. I'm not blaming Terry. Why are we not blaming Terry for this, for people that are not sure?
Well, basically, Terry wasn't. That's the showrunner, and he wrote some of the episodes in season 3, and that's why it's so good. So we can't blame Terry for what they handed him. What I do give Terry lots of credit for, and the writers, etc., is the fact that they couldn't sit there and just pretend like uh, Picard isn't a robot anymore. Or they couldn't pretend that Data didn't die twice already. It's already there. It's already
Yeah.
in the Star Trek lore. No pun intended. So it was
Fucking
already
hell.
there. So instead of trying to pretend it's not there or to make up some other stupid thing like the bad writers would, he just said, "Look, I'm just going to have to embrace it. It is the way it is. Nothing I can do about it." And he rolls with it, and he rolls with it really well, and comes up with a decent idea and a decent way of getting through the problem,
Yep.
not ignoring the problem.
Yeah.
So I got to give him a lot of credit for that.
He inherited a bloody mess, safe to say, Gray.
Yeah.
And he did mention before that Data will be in it in some kind of capacity. He did say before he had to. He's like, I know he's been killed before, but you can't have a TNG reunion without him. And when you see what
Yeah.
happens, you'll be like, perfect, Terry, well done. You done the best of what you could with what you had, and you managed to turn it around somewhat. So anyway, we'll certainly get to that, won't we?
Mhm.
But, as I mentioned here, Mr. Grey, Data has just gone and pulled a fast one, hasn't he? He knew what he was doing right off the
Yeah.
bat, which was bloody genius. And thing is, Lord can't figure out what's he's thinking unless he completely wins and takes over. Then he knows. He doesn't know what he's planning because of the partition. And Gray and I, like I said before, we both saw it coming. By Lore, by Data giving Lore his trinkets, he's given parts of him to Lore, so that he still kind of survives or passes his essence, his self, over to Lore. Where Lore thinks, I'm taking all you. Well, you are everything, all the memories, the bits and bobs, and then before you know it, Lore's the one that's starting to disappear, and he's like, and he's like, he basically just said what I said there to Lore, that I'm taking over. You're coming part of me, brother. That's what it's like. And then he disappears in his brother's arms, which is kind of sweet in a way, even though Lore's always trying to kill him. And then before you know it, everything goes from on the board to blue
Red to
instead of
blue.
green, and he's resurrected out of nothing. Sorry, Gray, I just had to finish that last bit there. What is your take on that, mate? Did you kind
Well,
of, yeah,
what I thought was really great was, first of all, the cat was a turning point because he picked up the cat, Data, and he said, "This is when I truly understood what it was to love something."
mm,
And
mm.
Laura takes the cat, and instead of just going "Rant," tossing the cat out, he's holding
Or
the cat and petting the cat
was he
some, and
petting the cat?
and
Was he? All right, okay.
well, you kind
It
of had
looked
him
like it.
cradled like this.
Yeah.
So, and then when finally when Data reveals to Laura what the whole point of what he did was, he basically gave Laura what Laura has always really wanted. Laura's always really wanted the things that Data had, but he never could. The
Yeah.
forgotten child kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when he got all the things that he was missing, he essentially becomes Data. So whether you want to look at it as Data becomes Laura, Laura becomes Data, it doesn't matter. The point is that that was what had to end up happening at the end.
Yeah. So, in a way, Data has died for the third time. In theory,
Technically.
he has died for the third time, in
And
theory.
reborn for the fourth time.
Yeah, but this time now, it's Data plus Lore, not Lore plus Data.
Right.
It's Data plus Lore. So what he's inherited the good parts of Lore, which there's good parts. Well, yeah, his personality and humanity and not humanity, personality and emotions, like the humor, the
Mhm.
sarcasm, the almost perfect android being, which works out later towards the end of the episode. It's actually bloody hilarious. We'll talk about that just now, actually.
Mhm.
Right off the bat, Picard's like, we need your help. He doesn't even let Picard finish. He's like, I'm right on it. What a guy.
I'm on it, right.
And he literally starts taking back the control in like seconds, just like that. He he's apparently pissed off now because he can feel, and this comes out in a nice little line in a moment as well, because he's the best. He's basically the best version of the two, like I said a moment ago.
Mhm.
And then he talks about he goes on the tannoy. I call it a tannoy. It's ship wide now, and he's talking to everyone, and he's like, "This is your boy, Data Lore up again." Um, and then he's addressing.
Wait a minute. I gotta stop you. It would have been hilarious if he actually said it just the way you did.
It's your boy Data.
That would have been classic. Hey, it's your boy Data. They'd all be going like, "What?"
See,
love it.
This is the thing about the two of them coming together. He's not too silly. He's got humor, but he's not like Lore, like was all about just being too emotional, and that was maybe something.
Lore was an a-hole. Like,
oh, he was. But in fact,
Right.
I'll give you this bit, Greg, because you've noticed something down here, but also the bit how he dresses the changelings as well.
Oh yeah, it was great. Well, the first thing he says when he gets back online, he goes, "This is your Panatronic pissed off security system." I loved it when I heard that. I was going like, "Yeah, that's it. Give it to him." And then in this rant that he's doing, he calls out the change that says monologuing protoplasms. I'm going like, where'd you come up with that one? That's a good one. I really like that. I was sitting there going like, "Yeah, man, this is good." Just
This is when you use humor, guys, at the right times, and it's funny enough, and it's Data with his humor, not when he had the emotion chip in Generations, and he just turned into a bloody nervous wreck because it was too much for him. This is good, and I like this version of Data, to be honest with you, mate.
yeah.
Now, a little bomb thing that Jack's got in his hand. It's not quite what it seems. Surprise, surprise. Wasn't really surprised by that. Jack's plan now comes into effect. His bomb isn't a bomb, but it's in fact a force field. As Picard yells the order to the bridge. Now, at this stage here, I'm like, who the hell is the bridge? Who's on the bridge to carry this out? But as Gray points out nicely here, because Data's still connected to the whole ship, it's probably him. But then why not just say Data?
I just think it was the emotion of the moment.
Yeah.
They didn't have to point out Data. It's just do it.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. And again, small nitpick. I don't really care. I'm just wondering who
Yeah.
he's talking to, And he yells the order to open the evacuation hatch on the bridge. And then, Gray thinks it's probably Data that's doing the controlling and opening of the hatch, and it probably is, to be fair. Now, here we go. There's a swear word coming up, and I'm going to say it verbatim because it adds to what happens. So if you've got little kiddies about, just shut them up away and cover their ears for like 20 seconds or so. Seven then says the force field goes round them. Oh, you're funny, Gray. The force field goes round the two of them, and then Seven just classic line: "Get off my bridge." Very Picard-esque. To which a rattled Vadik turns round, looking scared shitless, and she goes, "King solids." And I am pissing myself laughing at this stage, Gray. I know you liked this scene as well, didn't you?
Now, again, you probably know what I'm going to say here, but again, it harkens back to Star Trek 6 again. What did Christopher Plummer say when they fired the torpedo that went up the tailpipe of the ship? He just goes, "To be or not to be," and he's looking at this. He's looking at the torpedo, and boom, he's gone. Very much the same thing. She's going like, "Damn, they got me," and so she just goes fucking solids and boom.
See,
everybody fly out the hatch.
I'm not for swearing the Star Trek. I don't think it should ever be used at all. And I know Gray maybe thinks differently from that. It's never been a Star Trek thing at all. And they shouldn't be changing it now. But see that one time there, it was said by Picard early in the season, and I don't like that. I don't agree with that. But see right then, that was perfect. That was just the ideal time to have that, because she knows she's going to die. So, and I wasn't sure she's going to die, actually. changelings handle face, and we get to that in a moment. We then see a frozen Varric, because she got more goons, and she starts freezing up slowly, as you do in space. And then I actually think she's heading towards the Shrike. I thought, this is what I was asking, is she going to die, Ray? Because I thought maybe the Shrike would beam her up and then quickly try and revive her, and maybe she recovers because she's a changeling, evolved changeling. We don't know what's going to happen there. But no, she doesn't. Instead, she slams right into her own bloody ship and breaks into tiny pieces. And I'm asking Gray, is she really dead? And by his little cheeky, funny comment, I'm pretty sure she is dead, Gray. Yeah?
Dead, Jim.
Trev. Yeah.
McCoy. She's dead, Jim. I mean, Trev.
So she's not coming back. She's 100%.
She ain't coming back. First of all, just think about this. If she's frozen solid, I mean, if they were gonna save her, they would have to save her before she froze up. And there was no way to save her. Half her crew was on the Titan anyway, so there was no time. And even though we saw her freeze up, believe me, you go out into space like that, you're gonna freeze up a hell of a lot faster than what we saw.
Yeah, true.
So in any case, she freezes solid, but then when she hits the ship, she breaks into a bunch of pieces. There's no way, changeling or not, those pieces are spread out in space so far apart. It would never come back together.
It's the momentum as well. The momentum she hits, so they're going for miles now, aren't they?
Like by now, it's off to part of her's off to another planet or whatever.
You always wanted to see the galaxy. Now she is, in bits. But yeah, so yeah, she's gone with 2 episodes to go. So this will be on Jack and the Big Bad. But the bridge crew are now back in control. And Shaw asked Seven to take this one. Now, Ray, I want your input in this one, mate. I think you mentioned it here, but we'll talk about it. She then says, lock on and fire everything, very, very Riker-esque. And she shouts fire a bit loudly when not that far away. But anyway, she feels she has to shout it really, really loud.
Yeah, because she's pissed off. I don't blame her.
I know. And then she shouts fire, and I counted 5 torpedoes hit, and these are not quantum. Normal torpedoes hit the Shrike, and the Shrike goes kablooey, and I'm like, wow, this ship was blown up that bloody easy. And as I note here to Gray, ask him questions. I'm like, okay, what? Its shields must have been down, and that's because there was no one left on board, or next to no one left on board to raise them. Is that why you think it was blown up so easy, Gray? Possibly?
Yeah, I think so. I think shields were down because, remember, as far as they know, everything is going fine on the other ship. So what are we worried about? We got them by the whats, and we don't care. So yeah, the shields are down for sure. And as far as 5, those photon torpedoes are pretty powerful. They may not be quantums, but they're pretty powerful. So I could see it. If they're hitting in the right places, you can blow a ship up with no shields. However, I really think that if to do it properly, they should have shot like 5, 6, 7, 8 torpedoes, and they should have been phasering stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned that, like, everything. She does say like fire a lot, and it's only torpedoes.
Fire. Yeah, she says fire everything we got, or whatever she said. Well, that isn't everything you got. You got phasers too. So, and again, everybody understand that's just a nitpick.
Of course.
But if I were to redo the scene, yeah, I would double up on the torpedoes, and I would definitely fire several phasers at the ship at the same time.
And you wonder why at this stage more Starfleet ships don't have quantum torpedoes. And I've always wondered this. I think I remember reading this somewhere that they're hard to make even in Star Trek terms. So not every ship gets them, and they have less of them, far less of them than they do photons. They are, if you look into the technology of how they're made, it's mind blowing. It's like very Stargate-esque with the 0 modules things that they have. It's literally, from nothingness causing a big explosion, pulling like power from subspace, and it's absolutely mind-bending if you think about it. So they can't make as many of them. So I'm okay with it being photons being the standard on most ships going forward. So the old photons 5, kablooey, the Titan goes past, and we get some more of that sweet, sweet TNG movie music, Gray, don't we? Which I'm never going to get sick of hearing.
Yeah, actually, when you see the Titan just kind of swoop out like this, you hear the original TMP type Enterprise music.
Oh right, okay.
Which is generally only left for the Enterprise, but they threw it in.
We allow it.
Yep. And it sounded great, and they were just kind of like, going off. So
It's
everything was great.
it's great. There is great starship porn in this whole season, isn't it? Like they've done it so well. The
Yeah,
shots of the Titan, like the Titan is the hero ship. It's not the bonniest looking ship in the world. It's not ugly either. It's just not the
yeah,
bonniest
it's
ship.
not bad. It's not bad.
No. I'm just
Yeah,
it's not an Enterprise E or anything. That's sort of defied. It's
yeah,
stuff
but
to look.
between you and I, we know why they picked a ship and called it the Neo Constitution type class ship. It's because
Oh
it's the
yeah,
closest looking thing to the Enterprise
yeah,
without being the Enterprise.
yeah. Of course, of course.
So, so you had to do it to get those vibes,
Yep.
or whatever.
100%. Don't get me wrong. Not most of the time the hero ship should be really powerful and the top of the line one. Usually when it's the Enterprise, it is. But in this case, it's nice to see something a little bit different. And the flyby
Mhm.
shots of the ships and whatnot are really, really good. So the
Yep.
CGI, the VFX team done really, really well. We have a little sweet moment here between Data and Geordi. And Geordi's like, "How do you feel?" And he's trying to explain it. He's trying to, because this is the first time he's been asked that question and had to think about how he feels. And he's like, "I feel," and there's a little pause, and he goes, "I feel," And I'm like, that is the
Yeah.
perfect bloody answer and response. That is how he feels. The fact he can feel
Yeah.
it's new to him, and when in Generations, Star Trek 6, it overwhelmed him to the point it nearly blew his positronic kind of brain. But he handles it there perfectly. And Grey notes here, it's a beautiful emotional scene. I love to see scenes between those two guys.
Oh yeah. Every time they bring the cast in for something, it's just wonderful. When it's done right, when it's written right, when it's directed properly, it all comes down just right. And
Done it
that's
well.
and that's what a good showrunner is all about. And that's why Paramount's putting their cash behind Terry, going forward from here. So
Hopefully. Hopefully. I mean, it's the writers as well.
see.
Terry
Oh,
only
they will.
wrote 2, 3 episodes of this. Maybe even less, maybe only 2. But he picked the writers that he knew
Right.
that worked with him in 12 Monkeys before and other things, and that's why it works, because the
Yep.
they're what Terry they're the same mentality as Terry. You can't have
Yeah.
10 Terrys. That'd be great. Like writing different episodes. He just picks the guys that work, and they're all cracking writers. Finally, Gray. Something great happens, and I'm going to let you tell the people what happens because it's so great, and you're such a cool guy that you deserve the honor.
So this is the first time technically that we see the entire TNG crew finally all sitting around the table like in the old days. And so it was really great just getting a nice pan shot of each one of them as they say something or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody more or less, has a line to say, here and there,
What they've been up
which
to.
is all what they've been up to or whatever they feel like saying. When Data comes into the room, right away Jordy's saying, something to the effect, "I can't believe how I have my friend back." When he's back and my friend is back, and so that was like a great scene with those two and everything. So it just was like the feel good, the best feel good part of of the episode in
Yeah.
that like one scene. And then I'll leave Worf to what Worf said that was funny to you. You go ahead on that one. This is great. He drops the line and just like,
Well, the thing with Data that he touched on before, Gray, was he is, he's like, "It's good to see you back, Data," and he's like, "Kind of, it is Data and it isn't Data, but it's the best version of Data because Data is technically dead, really,
well,
but
even Data said himself. He said, "I'm Data,
but
but I've
not.
changed."
But I've changed, yeah. So Data 2.0, the complete Data, the best version of him. He's always tried to evolve, and he's got there now, finally,
Right.
which is good. But yeah, no, they go around the table, like Greg says, and they get to Worf. And Worf says he's been fighting many enemies over the years, and he's kind of killed a lot of enemies and whatnot. And this whole time he's killed each enemy, wanted to give each of their heads to his friends as mementos. But he's advised that that's maybe a wee bit passive aggressive. To which they're kind of chuckling and smiling away, very much like Gray is right now. And we're both saying here, we're laughing at blood.
Oh my god! I was off the chair laughing. It was so funny the way, and he just deadpan delivers it. Just going, "I have fought many enemies over the years, and I wanted to give the heads of each one of you to my friends." And I'm
That
like,
is
"Oh my god!"
Roger never. It was, see, the writing for Worf is brilliant. It's so deadpan. That is
Yeah.
Worf. Michael Dorn delivers this so well, and I love his humor. It's very dark and dry, just like mine. So roll on. Brilliant
Kind
scenes,
of like it's
brilliant
kind
scenes.
of. I don't know if you know who Stephen Wright is, but Stephen Wright's a comedian that his whole career is deadpan humor, where he just sits there and he doesn't even make any expressions.
That's the
And
funniest part.
it was almost like that. Worf was able to just, Michael Dorn was able to deliver the lines, and I'm just like,
Yep.
wow,
Yeah.
that was perfect.
It was. It was.
I would love to see the outtakes when this is all over. There had got to be some good
Oh, the
ones.
bloopers. For once, actually, I do want to see
Yeah,
that because I don't normally watch that, but yes, I want to see that.
I hope
Um,
they do put it out eventually.
so the very last part of the episode, we have a cool scene where the Titan cloaks. Now, I've touched on this before. It's the original cloaking sound effect and visual effect, which I
Yeah.
love. The Treaty of Algeron's gone because the Romulan Star Empire doesn't exist. It's the Romulan Free State, so the Treaty of Algeron is kaput, so they can use cloak again. And damn right, I mean, this is a modern Starfleet. They should be able to be using this kind of technology, and they
Mm.
do. They're going to basically, essentially, I think, cloak is because Frontier Day is a matter of a couple of hours away, and they need to cloak and then
Yep.
get there. So I guess that's why they're doing it. We have Troi at the end visiting Jack to find out what's going on with him. So normally she notes patient comes to the counselor. The counselor doesn't normally come to the patient, but she's like, I think I'm going to pay him a visit in this
Yep.
one time. And then she's like, listen, grab the hands, like, let's go into this together. And then she starts reading his mind, and she asks about this red door that Jack keeps seeing. Because we do see this red door at the end of a corridor all the time with the vines
Right.
over it. And then she's, this red door. And he's like, I don't know, but I am petrified of it. I ain't going anywhere near that bloody door. Having none of it. And Troy's like, listen, we'll go together. It's fine, chill. Like, whatever is behind that door, we'll face it. And then she goes up, open the door, and just as she's about to open it, bloody episode ends, and I'm like, oh god damn Terry again. And then Gray's a smart ass here, and he goes, it's called a cliffhanger for a reason. But come on, Gray, you do that at the end of a bloody season, not the end of almost every episode.
I don't know. 'Cause in the old days, long ago, they used to cliffhang at the end of every episode of something. It was just like
Yeah,
the
if it's a
thing to do.
continuation, but old Trek is individual episodes, so I'm not used to seeing it, I think, in Trek, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to see that on like Strange New Worlds. Because they have episodic, each
Yes,
story. This is an overarching story, so you can do whatever.
exactly,
Um,
exactly. So, yeah, our final thoughts on that. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, I could border on 8, but I'll stick with my 7.5. And that's not a slight on the episode. It's just so hard to get the 9s and 10s because the rest of it's so good that
mm,
to pull that off, they might do it in episode 9 or 10. It's possible. But a 7 out of 10 is nothing to be ashamed of. Very, very good, solid episode with many good things through it. Um, but it wasn't completely mind blowing like some other episodes were in the past. So it's just a high bar that Terry sets. Not a bad thing at all. What did you give it,
right.
Gray, and why?
Yeah, I went one more. I said 8.5. I really did enjoy it. I did think it got draggy here and there. It was kind of like, okay, you need to kind of move it along a little bit. I thought Worf's whole speech to Troy, even though it was funny, was too long and it got to be a little cringy because it was too long.
Funny as hell, mate. Come on.
It was funny, but they needed to shorten it like by
Yeah, yeah,
half.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That would have been fine. He just kept going on and on and on. I'm going like, okay, okay,
So,
I get it.
Rafi, is that what takes it down to half a
And
point from the
then
9?
and then the third reason was Raphael.
Every time she's in an episode, it's like if Gray gives it a 9, that's going to take it down point of a half a
I
point.
can't help it. Even though
Funny.
she's admittedly better in this season than the prior ones, it's still
She's still
I don't know.
there. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
kind of
know,
like
I know.
that pebble in your shoe, It's kind of like what's bothering my foot, you know.
It's hard, it's
That's
Rafi.
the way. Yeah.
So yeah, that almost takes us to the end there. But what we've been doing the last few episodes is Gray's little corners. We're calling it just a quick sneak peek of the teaser trailer for next week. And we've both had a little watch it. Gray, you want to quickly tell the people what's
Yeah,
happening
this
here?
one was a clip, and actually, I wasn't really expecting him to do this clip, but anyway, it kind of picked up right with
Mm.
where it left off, and Troy says, "I'm going to go in the room with you. Don't worry." And so they walk to the room and they open the door, and Troy sees what's beyond the door just before Jack sees what's beyond the door. And she immediately breaks contact or something threw her off, I should say, that what
I
she
knew it would
saw
happen.
that broke contact with Jack immediately. But what was more, I can't wait till next week kind of thing, is that she goes like, I gotta go. And she runs out of the room, and he's going, and then Jack's like running after her, going, what did you see? And he's screaming at her, what did you see? What did you see? And she just couldn't handle it. And I'm going like, wow, if she couldn't handle it, what the hell did she see? So this is gonna
Big
get
bad.
real interesting, which is what I like. Yeah, I don't know what she saw. Did she see a big bad? Did she see something more shocking in her mind? I mean, I have a theory, but I could be totally off. And actually,
Yeah.
I don't even want to see this theory happen. But
Hmm?
every time you heard the voice in his head, it sounds like Beverly. This last episode, this one we talked about, when he heard the voices again, sound a lot like Beverly now. It's not just like before; it was kind of like sort of Beverly sounding.
Yep.
Now it sounded just like her. And I'm going like, what are they leading up to? So I just threw out there just for the hell of it. I go like, could the Beverly we've been seeing all along in the show be a changeling? Dun,
Why?
dun,
I mean, I
dun.
just don't get it. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just why?
I'm not going with my theory
I hope not,
100%,
mate.
but that would be one hell of a twist if it was,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know? Because
Anyway,
Vada kept on saying things about Jack that would lead you to believe that Jack's not even her son or something. I mean, he keeps she says things like,
she knows him too
if you
well
only,
a little bit.
yeah, Vatic was saying, well, if you only knew what he was, or you only knew what he did, or you only knew what he's gone through, you only knew, and I'm like, what is she talking about? Because if this is her son, and she's seen him since he was little, and he's been around all the time, pretty much. What is Vatic saying? It's almost as if she's saying, this isn't your son. This is whatever this is. Hey,
Exactly,
look,
episode 9 or
we don't
10.
know. Maybe he has a split personality, and the big bad is actually Jack.
Of course, it could be whatever is in his mind could come
You know?
out, and he goes all
Yeah.
floaty McFlo. He could be floaty McFlo. Possible.
I mean, we don't
I
know.
believe that
So,
more. Believe that more than the Beverly thing, to be honest.
yeah. I mean, so
Um,
far, the good thing about the writing being so well is every time you and I do an episode review, we keep on saying, "Wow, I hope they can write themselves out of this one. Oh, I hope the
yeah,
writers know what they're doing. Oh, I hope the writers don't mess
usually
it
do.
up." And this every single time the writers have been able to handle the situation and make it plausible as to what's going on. So, and that's another sign of good writing. So now we have two more episodes, and again, we're even questioning, going like, "What are they going to do? There's only two more episodes."
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's we'll see the Enterprise F in episode 9 because
can't wait.
pardon. Oh
I
yeah.
said,
Aye,
we
sorry.
can't
Yeah,
wait.
the Enterprise F. It's yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah, they did confirm it's being decommissioned, but literally, and we've got a whole other theory on every bloody starship in the land being in the how practical it is,
I'm
but
s-
I'm not going to nitpick at that one.
no.
Let's just say it's good to see all these. It will be good to see all these ships. And that episode's called Vox. I don't know why. Maybe that's the name of the big bad. Because every other episode has got a name that makes sense or it's direct to something. This is the first one, Vox VOX, that I'm like, what? I want to be pleasantly surprised. Um,
I still want to see the Enterprise F blow something up.
You may
It's
do,
got to
mate.
do
You
it.
may do. You may do.
Like,
You may do, my man. Let's just see what happens there. I can't wait for episode 9. I really can't. So well done, Terry and crew. We'll wrap up there. Thank you, as always, everyone, for your patience and Gray coming along. The usual quick call to arms. We are on, as well as YouTube, of course, the YouTube do the podcast now. And on any other podcast platform, you can find us at the Trekway as well. Same on the old Twitters at the Trekway. And don't forget, Mr. Gray here has his little side gig as well that I co-host with him called Gray's Green Room, which can be found on the YouTubes as well and the podcasts and platforms. We're looking for Gray's Green Room. He does that
look down there.
once a month. It's always down there. All the stuff down there. He does a episode once a month, and we'll have the odd special thrown in there as well. And you can find him on the Twitters at Gray's Green as well. But yes, listen, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. We can't wait to see you for episode 9. But until then, Mr. Gray, do your thing, my friend.
Live long and prosper, everybody.